So as a massive DC animation fan, I was really rooting for this series, especially as Crisis on Infinite Earths is such an epic series, both from a live action series point of view when they did make that, as well as from a comic book point of view. But I just feel like from this movie perspective, it just hasn't hit in the same way that it really should do, especially as this is the multiverse for comic book superfans. I feel like all of the other aspects that multiverses have been explored in a comic book space, as well as in non-comic book spaces as well, have catered more towards a mass market audience, whereas here they really can go all nerdy, all geeky, and just really cater for that comic book audience. But like I said, they just haven't done it to the standard that they definitely can do. And I also feel like part 2s, part 3s, and part 4s are just absolutely incredible from a TV space, but I just feel like part 2s and part 3s just haven't translated that well in the movie space lately, as they just have not been working, like I said, both from a comic book perspective as well as from a non-comic book perspective, as I really, honestly, genuinely, really wanted to love Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2, as I am the perfect audience for this. I really wanted to love it, and whilst it did definitely have some cool moments, other moments in this special just dragged on for way too long. So let's break down all of the moments. So Psycho Pirate's origin storyline, I honestly thought was absolutely perfect. I thought that was so compelling. And just the power, the destructive power of emotional manipulation, I just feel like it was explored so well, especially as you are seeing this guy do it across loads of different phases of his life, and actually it's pretty world shattering, as all of the decisions, I mean, he even says this himself, are made from an emotional perspective. So if you can control people's emotions, you can get them to do whatever you want them to do. So it was just so dark. And this character, when he was getting Monitor's powers, he was then, okay, game over. Because this guy really now is a multiversal threat. So I honestly think Psycho Pirate was actually explored really well here. And I think a lot of people can learn from this, because I feel like especially that powerful line by Anakin Skywalker, when he was heartbreakingly and emotionally saying, "What have I done?" when he effectively caused the death of Mace Windu because he was acting out of emotion. And you also got to see that in some of the final battles in this movie special, where a lot of the characters are just regretting the fact that they have given in to their negative, dark, evil emotions. Of course, Psycho Pirate was manipulating all of them in order to give in to that, but I just feel like it was just such a powerful sequence. And there was quite a lot of time jumping, and I feel like DC is really sophisticated as it knows that its audience can piece things together. So I originally, probably foolishly, thought that this was another Monitor right in the beginning that is now seeing Kara, but actually it was the Monitor that we saw in the first part of this 3-part animated trilogy, and it's showing how he met Kara originally and effectively saved her, and then kind of grew human emotions by spending more and more time with her, and then sent her into the Tomorrowverse, where she of course then met Clark Kent and then went into the Legion of Superheroes and is now back on his ship. And I feel like she was a really powerful and big character, and I feel like they really are showing that Supergirl really is a threat not to be messed with, as right at the end she pretty much is the cause of destruction to potentially kill Monitor. Again, she's obviously manipulated by Psycho Pirate, but it really does show that you have to be careful, I feel like, from Monitor's perspective, in terms of who you let into your life, who you're going to give your powers to, as they potentially can cause the death of you. And then speaking of Monitor, he's obviously been around for ages, for eons, for billions of years, just constantly watching everything. And his enemy, who we now know is called Anti-Monitor, he seemingly doesn't even know of his existence, and he's always been watching, and then the one time that he does actually interfere, he is leading to the potential death of so many different characters. Barry obviously last time, and this time Diana. And I just feel like that floating crown image right at the final couple of moments of this special was just so powerful. I absolutely loved the multiversal makeup of the Bat family. I honestly thought that was absolute perfection, as you've got different iterations from different universes of the Bat family members, along with the Batman that actually has never had a Bat family. I honestly thought it was so good, and if anything, I would have just loved even more sequences here, as these characters and the makeup of them was just so good, especially certain characters that you've never seen interacting before. For example, a younger Dick Grayson along with Terry McGinnis fighting this loner Batman. Honestly, it was just absolutely brilliant, and I just wish we would have got more of it. And you can really see why Batman is the signature hero for DC, as even the opening with Joker being Joker was just so good. Superman was pretty much Superman. He had a really reduced role from a storyline perspective, and Blue Beetle was clearly just there because they made the live action Blue Beetle movie lately. I didn't realize it was Matt Lanter voicing him though, so if you've got Matt Lanter, you might as well use him a little bit more. I'm intrigued by Spectre. He's clearly knows so much more about what's going to happen potentially in the future, and I just can't wait to see him being a bigger character in the next installment. And speaking of the next installment, we're going to properly, hopefully, see John Constantine being a bigger character too. He was obviously a background character as well in the first installment, and we all knew this is the version that we saw in the special after the DC AMU was concluded, and now we've got him back in his prime, so hopefully that will be cool to hopefully see how the DC AMU can be integrated a lot more intelligently into the Tomorrowverse. It's a little bit of a sad story with the Tomorrowverse, isn't it, as it never really took off in the same way that the DC AMU did, and now they're just suddenly jumping straight to multiverses and kind of potentially wrapping it all up. I thought it was a powerful sequence with Jon Stewart also sacrificing his powers to pretty much save that world from all of the dark evil demons, and I loved it, the fact that Jon Stewart saying his name John, which triggered John Constantine to remember his name. That was a really nice touch. And speaking of the Shadow Demons, I absolutely hated them. I thought they were such a waste of time, such a waste of space. A little bit like the villains in Justice League and Ruby, because they just didn't really do anything, but thankfully all of the psychotic, psycho pirate, mind-bending based storylines definitely did make up for this, as I always feel like, you know, villains that have a compelling motivation, those are the ones that are really able to make you break your heart, as you can just see all of the darkness about where their manipulation is coming from. And apparently we're going to see some voice actors reprising their roles in the final installment, maybe from the Batman animated series, which has the potential to just conclude all of this in such a good way. So, you know, I do feel like there were some good moments in the second part of Justice League and Crisis on Infinite Earths. I was just expecting so much more, and I just feel like the way in which this storyline is being told across this trilogy of movies feels like a bit of a watered down animated TV series, but it doesn't have enough episodes to really flesh that out. So I'm just hopeful that they are really able to stick the landing in the third installment. But as far as part 2 is concerned, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of part 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.